Hi, and welcome to the Senior Network. I'm your host, Greg Fulton. Today we're joined by Carrie Babcock, PruittHealth Home Health. Good to see you again, Carrie.
Thank you so much.
Rebecca Freeman, attorney, Elder Law and Estate Planning Center. Good to see you again.
Good to see you too.
Well, Happy New Year, guys. Cannot
Happy
believe
New
2019 already, right?
It's unbelievable how fast the time flies.
It does. Well, Carrie, tell me, in your world, what's a new year mean in home health?
Well, typically this year, or this time of year, we're pretty busy.
Right.
You know, in this area, of course, we have a lot of retirees, a lot of snowbirds who come back and live down here in the winter. And when the winter comes around, you start seeing more things like pneumonia come up, right. Where people are going to the hospital and then getting discharged, hopefully to home health, so they can go back home and we can help rehabilitate them.
Good deal. Now, as far as in the legal world, I'm sure there's a lot going on for you guys, right?
Yeah, so everybody, kind of the whole new year, new me thing keeps going.
Right.
So we get a lot of energy for, oh, now I'm going to get my estate plan. I'm going to work off all the holiday cookies. I'm going to get my estate plan in shape. And for us, it's kind of catching them and keeping them going so nobody gets the February blues and kind of falls away. So.
Well, I can imagine, too, I know we talk about this on the show with the holidays and all the family coming to town, that you probably, at that point, the children are saying, hey, you know, we need to start thinking about estate plans, wills, trusts, those types of things. So do you hear from a lot of the children outside maybe the state?
So sometimes we do. It just depends. What we've noticed is in December, when we have clients working on their estate plans in December, we see those families. Obviously, if there's an issue or kids come down and mom or dad's kind of sick, or they realize their parents are a little bit older than what they originally thought, being a few states away, then they'll come in and see us. But December, we kind of focus more on educating clients about, go ahead and talk to your kids. You maybe not want to talk about your will and your trust and dying at Christmas dinner, but the day after, when everybody's still kind of hungover on holiday cheer, you can bring up your estate plan.
Very interesting. Carrie, as far as home health, I know we talked a lot on the show about the different programs you have with falls and things like that. Do typically in a new year, does companies like yours roll out new programs?
Well, yes, we are always rolling out new programs. We do practice evidence-based medicine, so we're always looking at what works best for you know, patients' individual conditions. And currently we have a program called Perfect Path, which is designed to transition patients from a hospital or skilled nursing facility to home health seamlessly without skipping a beat. And that involves, you know, gathering all of their paperwork, their history, you know, physical paperwork, finding out what their condition is, and then we'll send out a nurse. You know, they might have a PT or an OT, physical therapy, occupational therapist as well, that will go out and assess the home, check out the patient's condition, and then they'll put together a program to rehabilitate the patient. And they'll put together a care plan, get it back to the primary care doctor so they can sign off on it or make changes if they need to. And that way the patient, we're not missing something. We typically get patients admitted to our agency within 24 hours. 48 is, you know, considered very good. So we do a good job with that as well.
Well, tell me, you bring up a good point. So as far as, because I know with this hospital systems, everything's changed over the last few years. So you're talking about, you know, you mentioned internal medicine, family doctors, but you're also dealing with all the specialists and the hospitalists and folks like that, correct?
Yes. We, in the healthcare system in general, and it can be confusing, of course, most people have a primary care doctor, you know, family practice or internal medicine. And then you have your specialists, whether it's a nephrologist, you know, cancer specialists, pulmonologists, and we call on them, and that's typically more for specific conditions. When you're going to call on case management at the hospitals, of course, they see everything coming in the door at the hospital and the ER. So where we fit in is you have, you know, your primary care or family practitioner, then you have your specialists, then if you get sick in an acute condition, you go to the hospital. They're going to diagnose and treat you there, and then you're probably going to get discharged to either skilled nursing or home health if you're good enough to go back home. And that's kind of where PruittHealth fits in. We do the home health piece.
Now, I know it takes to get, you know, we talked about this before, everything's typically covered with Medicare over 65, right? So do you have to have that internal medicine doctor refer to you, or can you have a specialist?
It can be either.
Okay.
We do have to have a doctor's order, but it can be any doctor. Typically, it's someone who's going to follow the patient a little bit. So we don't get referrals, for instance, from like hospitalists at the hospital. We would
Okay.
get them from the case manager, but then we report back to the primary care doctor.
And once someone, if they actually go through rehab, whatever that may be, and they're back up and going again, and then they have an occurrence that comes back up, will they typically, they'll need a new order to come back with you if they need home health, in other words?
Yeah, typically we have a 60-day window. And of course, one, not necessarily a misconception, but what I don't think a lot of people understand is you have payers. Medicare is a payer. Private insurance is a payer. And then, of course, there's self-pay. And with Medicare and most insurance companies, there are specific kind of rules of what they're willing to pay
Sure.
for. And so with Medicare, if we get a new patient, they'll give you a 60-day window and they say we'll pay for X number of visits to get the patient rehabilitated. Now at the end of 60 days, if they're still not rehabilitated, you can always reapply for another cert, another certification to keep working with them, and it's got to
Okay.
be medically justified.
I understand. And is that what I've heard people say? Is that an episode, the timeline there? Is that what you mean by the 60 days? Or
Yeah.
okay. Very, very interesting. Well, hold that thought. We need to take a break. Stay with us here on the Senior Network. We'll be right back.